Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things and welcome to another video. And today I thought I would do another 5-star TBR prediction video. So this is a video that has been going around on BookTube a little bit over the last few years. It was originally started by Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings, and I'll link her original video down below. And it will be the third one of these videos that I have done. So I did one back, I guess it must be nearly 2 years ago, where I predicted 5 books that were on my shelf that I really thought I would love, that I thought I would give 5 stars to, and then a little while later I reported on those 5 books and set another 5 books that I thought I would give 5 stars to. So I've now read all of those 5 books from the last video, so I thought I would do a little reflection on that and then talk about 5 other books on my TBR that I think I'm absolutely going to love. So there were 5 books on my 5-star TBR prediction video from last time. First was Can You Forgive Her by Anthony Trollope, which is the first book in Anthony Trollope's Palitzer series, and I did indeed give this 5 stars, so that was a good prediction on my part. This is an amazing novel. It follows a woman called Alice. At the beginning of the book she breaks off her engagement to a particular man, and the book basically follows what happens after that and whether you can forgive her for some of the bad ways she acts at certain points in the book. It's really, really good and definitely a book I would recommend, as I would with most of Anthony Trollope's work. The second book from my last video was this. This is Eastland by Ellen Wood, which is another Victorian novel. This is a fantastic novel that I did indeed give 5 stars to, and it looks at various characters in a place called Eastland and all the interactions between them. There's murder, there's adultery, there's mistaken identity, there's disguises, there's a lot going on in here. It's a Victorian sensational novel and one of the best. The third book on my 5-star TBR prediction video from last year was this. This is The Bedlam Stacks by Natasha Pulley, which I literally just finished reading this morning as of filming this, and this I did indeed give 5 stars to. It was absolutely incredible. This is the second book by Natasha Pulley, whose other book, The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, I absolutely loved, and this is set in 19th century England and Peru and follows a man who, along with his friend, travels to Peru to take cuttings of a particular plant and ends up getting involved in things much beyond what he ever expected. It is brilliant and wonderful and one I would highly recommend. The fourth book on that list was Radiance by Catherine M. Valente, another one in fact that I did give 5 stars to, so I'm doing pretty well with my predictions so far, and this I made a individual book review of at the time that I read it. I loved it a lot. It is very wacky and wonderful, and I still don't know quite how Catherine M. Valente managed to pull this off. It is about an alternate mid-20th century world in which space travel has been discovered and Hollywood is on the moon, told mostly through film transcripts and diary entries. It is absolutely amazing. And the final book on this list was The Invisible Circus by Jennifer Egan, which I did really like, but I only gave 4 stars to, so did not quite get my full predictions on that. I really like Jennifer Egan, but this I think is probably my least favourite of her books that I've read. Not that I didn't enjoy it, I still thought it was a great book, but it just didn't quite pack the same punch for me as Emerald City did or Manhattan Beach. And it follows a woman whose sister killed herself abroad several years ago, and she kind of goes on a sort of pilgrimage in a way to all the places that her sister went all those years ago to try and work out quite what happened and find out more about her sister. It's a really interesting novel, but I just didn't love it quite as much as some of the rest of Jennifer Egan's work. So there we go, 4 out of 5. I did pretty well. Now I want to move on to another 5 books on my TBR that I think I'm absolutely going to love. One of these is John Halifax, Gentleman by Diana Mullet-Craik. I don't have a physical copy of this, but I'm planning on reading it on Kindle at some point. It is a Victorian novel and one I'm really looking forward to getting to. I read Olive by Diana Mullet-Craik last Victober and absolutely loved it. It was one of my favourite books of last year and it was just incredible, definitely a long-term favourite for me. And I'm desperate to read more by Diana Mullet-Craik. Another Victorian book I am expecting to give 5 stars to is Deborah by Harriet Martineau. Now I have never read anything else by Harriet Martineau, but Kate Howe raved about this and that made me think that I would really like it, because in general I have quite similar Victorian taste to Kate Howe, and this apparently is a Victorian novel about English domestic life and what happens when 2 sisters move into a new town. I've just heard such amazing things about it and I really hope that I like it. Then I also have The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet by David Mitchell. This is one that I'm really expecting to love. So I have read 3 books by David Mitchell before: Cloud Atlas, The Bone Clocks and Slade House. Cloud Atlas was definitely a 5-star read for me and it was a real favourite, but the other two haven't quite lived up to Cloud Atlas. However, I hear brilliant things about this. My fiance Nick absolutely loved it and said that I would really enjoy it. It is historical fiction with, I believe, possibly a touch of magic, which is something I really, really enjoy. I will link down below my video on historical fiction that may or may not have supernatural elements. This is also set in late 18th century Japan, and I'm really interested in Japan and the history of Japan, so I think this is going to be one that I'm really going to love. Another book I would expect to give 5 stars to is this. This is An Artist of the Floating World by Kazuo Ishiguro. I love Ishiguro's novels a lot. He is one of my favourite living authors, and I only have 2 books left by him until I've finished all of his work, this and The Unconsoled. I hear quite mixed things about The Unconsoled, so I'm not sure whether or not that is going to be one that I absolutely love, but I've heard wonderful things about this. I think it's going to be really interesting. It's set in Japan in the late 1940s, and as I just mentioned, I'm very interested in the history of Japan, and I love Ishiguro's writing a lot. He is capable of doing such wonderful things with words and of really building characters and important emotive moments, so I'm really excited to get to this one. And the final book I want to put in this year's 5-star TBR prediction video is this. This is Take Nothing With You by Patrick Gale. I've been meaning to read this for quite a few months now, and I'm really hoping to get to it soon. Last year I read Patrick Gale's A Place Called Winter and just absolutely fell in love with it. It was incredible, one of my favourite books of the year, and I'm so excited to pick up something else by Patrick Gale. I just haven't quite got around to it yet, but this book sounds amazing. I actually went to a literary event where Patrick Gale was talking just at the release of this book, and he was talking about it, and it sounded so thoroughly up my street and entirely the kind of thing I love. It follows a man who is going into hospital for a particular treatment where he has to spend 24 hours alone in a room being exposed to radiation, and he's not allowed to take anything with him when he leaves the room, hence Take Nothing With You, and he's also not allowed to speak to anyone else when he's in this room. So he spends this like 24 hours reflecting on his life, particularly his life growing up as a young man, realising that he was gay, and also learning how to play the cello. Now I love books about music, which is something I think I've mentioned here and there on this channel before, but if a book really explores the theme of music and looks at music, and music is an important part of the book, I love that. That makes me so happy. It's something I really enjoy. In general, I would say as well, I quite like reading about LGBTQ characters in literature, and I'm a big fan of a coming of age book, and I'm a very big fan of a looking back narrative which features a character in the present looking back on the rest of their life. That's something I really enjoy. So this one I think is very up my street, and I'm really hoping to be giving it 5 stars when I finally get round to it. So there we have it. Those are another 5 books that I would expect to give 5 stars at some point in the future. Please let me know down in the comments if you've read any of those 5 books and what you thought of them, and if you think I will like them, or if you read any of the books that were on my 5-star TBR prediction video from last year and what you thought of them too. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.